Good day, you wonderful people. Welcome to the Voice of Reason with me, Andreas, and our favourite parliamentarian, Nigel Farage, is at it again. Yes, he is. He's always talking, always talking. He's not talking to the people of Clacton, though, is he? Eesh. Now, here in this recent interview, he does say some things that actually are worth taking note. Let's have a look.
Look, I'm very concerned that we have whole areas of our towns and cities that are unrecognisable as being English.
They closed their borders largely. Do you think Britain should do the same?
Pretty much. This issue of the population, of who's coming legally or illegally, this is going to be what decides British politics at the next general election. I have no doubt about that.
Can Trump ever be safe from assassination?
No, I'm afraid not. His safe spaces were Mar-a-Lago and the golf club, and that's where he spends most of his time. And it's proved not to be safe. And I can't even imagine what's going through his mind. To a much lesser degree, when I announced that I was going to run in a general election, the first day I was in Clacton and a woman ran up and threw a milkshake in my face. 2 days later, I was in Barnsley and some yob threw a cup full of cement at the bus. I got to tell you.
Now, of course, I'm just going to get there before a lot of other people do. He's not saying that what he's gone through is anywhere near the significance of, actually being hit by a bullet, let alone also having a second assassination attempt on the life. But another key point which needs to be pointed out by some who, on the very far left, seem to think this is totally okay. It is not. Just because an individual has opposing views to you, politically, lifestyles, whatever, does not give you the right to attack the man. Now, granted, it was only a milkshake, but it could have been so much worse. And now, a lot of you know who've seen my videos and my views, you know I do not agree with a vast majority of what Nigel Farage says, does, and is as a human being. But I do not condone any kind of violence to him or even Yaxi Lennon just because they have opposing views. That is not the way things should be done. We should be able to discuss situations. We should be able to talk. The fact that there are people out there who are not willing to talk, who are just there to cancel, shut down and be violent to others, but then claim that they're liberal is very counterintuitive. Now, let's carry on.
I wake up the next morning thinking, can I go on campaigning? Can I actually go on going out? Doesn't matter how much security you have around you. If you're actually going out to meet people, the risk of these things is always there. Now, I did carry on. I adapted ever so slightly what I was doing, but I can't even imagine. You've been shot at, survived miraculously with that turn of the head. And now this. And the guy was only 400 yards away, hiding in the bushes. If he hadn't been spotted, he'd have shot him from less than 50 yards. So what on earth do you do if you're him? And what effect does that have on your confidence? I have to say, I feel, it's truly awful what's happened. And it's going to be he's a strong guy. There's no question about that. But goodness me, this just makes life so difficult.
I know that you've had several near-death experiences and threats to your own life. And did that sort of change, how did that change you, for example, that plane crash in 2010?
Well, the plane crash is something I should probably never have survived, and I was horribly smashed up. But all I felt after that was relief. It's a miracle. I'm alive. I'm a bit damaged. I had to have operations and things afterwards. But so I've never suffered any problems with that because I feel, wow, I'm lucky. Oh, and by the way, I'm never going in a single-engine light aircraft ever again. But what he's going through is different. Because literally, if he walks out of his front door, how does he know that he's safe? It's truly horrible. I have to say that the narrative that is put out by the liberal left against conservative figures is frankly insightful. And I don't say too much, but what I will say is that my security situation has changed significantly since the general election. Significantly. And that's as a result of the riots and left and right commentators, Conservatives, Labour, saying that I was inciting the riots, as if somehow, I was linked with the Tommy Robinson wing of politics. And I genuinely believe in my case that what's been said by some national broadcasters literally is insightful. Well, here, it's a whole lot worse than that.
In Britain, we've heard endless talk of the threat from the far right. Do you think that the elites...
Just a quick one. Can whoever props this guy to be the man asking questions, for the love of God, have a personality, stop looking like a robot, stop looking so rigid, because, oh dear God, this interview looks so painfully staged. It is unbelievable right now.
understand that actually the threat from the far left is building and is serious?
No, I don't think they do fully. I think what they do understand, and electorally Labour are now terrified of many of the inner cities. Remember, Wes Streeting only held his seat against, a pro-Gaza candidate by simply a few hundred votes. So I think they're aware of that threat, electoral threat to them, the sectarianisation of politics. But I don't think they understand some of the real hatreds that are building up on the left towards anybody who expresses even a vaguely conservative view. Now, look, we talk about the threat from the far right. Of course, it exists. We know there are people out there that love violence, but I don't think. I honestly don't believe the far right's very big in Britain. I don't think most of those people out on demonstrations were members of the far right. They were just enraged people who are really, really worried about what's happening in our towns and cities.
We'll get on to that. I want to stick with America first. Kamala Harris has been described as a communist by Trump. Do you agree with him?
Well, look, the Donald uses very colourful language. Whether communist is quite right, but there's certainly a strain of Marxism running through there somewhere.
Do you think she's a diversity hire?
Well, Joe Biden said before she was even selected that was what he was going to pick. He was going to pick a woman, and if it could be a woman of colour, even better. Hey, we've seen this all through the corporate world as well. It isn't just
Don't worry, we will
politics.
fact check that, guys.
All the big American firms have gone crazy on this diversity agenda. And so you finish up with people getting jobs and positions based not on ability. But I think the pendulum's coming back. I think, you take ESG investing. Suddenly you're seeing lots of the big funds saying, you know what, we're not going to invest our people's money on the basis of whether it seemed to be ethically good. We actually need to invest in firms that pay us dividends and we make profit. So I do sense on this whole diversity stuff that there is something of a move back towards not quite yet meritocracy, but I think we're going in the right direction.
So, hang on a minute. So Kamala Harris is a diversity hire. So the potential next president of the United States is a diversity hire, and she's being basically having credibility taken away just because of her skin color and her gender. Okay.
Are Haitians eating pets in Ohio?
So whenever Donald Trump says something that sounds outrageous, and he gets widely mocked for it, it always turns out to be true. In the past, it always has turned out to be true. So, I haven't been around the towns of Ohio having a look, but there may be something in what he says.
Okay, so we will go back to Nigel very shortly, but since he said that everything Donald Trump has ever said has actually turned out to be true, let's just see this for ourselves very briefly, shall we? Now, when was this article written? 4th of May, 2024, Star Wars Day. Now, Trump's record as president, terrorism during Trump's presidency. Trump said there was very little terrorism, we had none, I had 4 years of, we had no terrorism, we didn't have a World Trade Center knocked down. While it's true, of course, Trump's presidency didn't feature anything comparable to the 2001 attack. His claim that we had no terrorism isn't true. There's a variety of terrorist attacks on the US during his term. There's a mass murder in New York in 2017, which killed 8 people, and injured others. A terrorist attack carried in support of ISIS. Trump's also alleged that another extremist member of Saudi Arabia's military, which killed 3 service members in Denver, was motivated by jihadist ideology, long-term associate of Al-Qaeda. Oh, look, in 2019, a white supremacist pleaded guilty to multiple charges in New York, including first degree in furtherance of an act of terrorism for killing a black man in March 2017, trying to start a race war. Okay. Oh, border wall. Okay. Talk about his wall on the border of Mexico. Trump said, I completed what I said I was going to do, much more. I said I was going much more than I said I was going to do. This is false. Trump didn't nearly achieve as much wall construction as he pledged in the campaign trail in 2015-16. Repeatedly said we need 1,000 miles of walls to protect the southern border, another 1,000 miles ready to protect by natural barriers. Not even close to 1,000 miles was built during his presidency. Official federal statistics put the construction total at 458 miles, and only 52 miles of that was new primary wall, where no barriers had previously existed. When Trump left office, there were about 280 miles of the border where wall construction had been planned but not executed. Everything he said is coming out to be true, right? Oh, asked why voters trust him with the second term when many people who worked closely with him during his first term now say he didn't deserve another term. Trump said, well, they don't because I didn't like them. Some of those people I fired. Bill Barr. I fired Bill Barr. I didn't want him. This is false. Bill Barr resigned. Okay. Remember, everything Trump has claimed is true. Well done, Nigel. Okay, so I have to briefly excuse my dog having her breakfast. So, the only thing that I can find even remotely close to Biden saying that he'll hire a black woman to be the next president of the United States. Biden says he's considering 4 black women to be his running mates, July 2020. And let's see the exact quote. I am not committed to naming any of the potential candidates, but the people I've named, and among them are 4 black women. He said he's getting a 2-hour vetting report on each of his potential picks, and that he and his team have gone through about 4 candidates so far. Then when I get them all the vetting I've done of the candidates, then I'm going to narrow the list and we'll see. Doesn't exactly sound like it's any kind of nepotism or Marxism there, does it? Okay, so we're not going to touch upon the Haitians and animal eating because that's just asinine. Deary me. Now, what he did say, there is a far left contingent that are like how he has described. This is demonstrably true. There are people out there who, if you oppose their views, they will try and cancel you, they will try and shut you down. Some will even go to violence, quite literally, like with the milkshake situation. And again, I do not condone that kind of behaviour. It is wrong. You need to be able to discuss and talk with people who have opposing views. As soon as you go to violence or insults, you lose any kind of moral high ground, and therefore the discussion is over. You shouldn't be doing that. That's not how you grow as people. If you just force people to listen to your ideology and follow your ideology, you're nothing less than a dictator. And guess what? That's not how democracy grows or is. Now, I've seen the footage of Yaxi Lennon have things thrown at him. I've seen the footage of Farage have things thrown at him. Now, even though I am on a very different opinion on political, sociological, personal, ethical, moral views of Farage and Yaxi Lennon, I do not agree with any kind of violence going towards them. Just because they have different views does not mean they should be subjected to violence. It isn't right. Shouldn't have to say that out loud, but evidently there are some people out there who need to hear these words. Now, what Farage did say that I'm very interested in is calling those rioters in the UK demonstrators. Why would he be calling them demonstrators? Evidently because he wants their votes, and he wants those who sympathise with the rioters to vote for him as well. Now, I refuse to call them demonstrators, because those people who were rioting, who were attacking innocent people, people who were attacking horses, dogs, looting and robbing from shops, burning businesses, shouting some vilely racial things, attacking places of religion and worship. What else was there? Now, those people who were, quote unquote, saving our kids. You remember that video we all saw with those grown men and women egging those kids on to attack the police? Those saving the police, saving the kids from, well done. They are not demonstrators. They are rioters. They are criminals. That is demonstrably proven. People who live in a country who then attack their own country are traitors to the UK. That is exactly what they are, because when you attack your own place and you're doing it because you feel like it, you are a traitor. Those people are not demonstrators. Oh, I feel angry. I'm going to go and loot a Greggs. I'm going to go burn a building down with people in it. See, this is why people are accusing him of inciting these kind of behaviours in people. Because he's trying to condone them. He's trying to justify them. That's literally what he's just done. For the love of God. And Nigel's supposed to be a clever individual. He's supposed to be a smart human being. This is definitely, evidently not smart. He's kowtowing to the lowest common denominators. Now, this interview seemed painfully staged. I don't know who the person was who was asking questions. It looked like he was being held at gunpoint. Like, no emotion, no personality, literally nothing. It's... Oh, Jesus wept. I don't even know what that was. But either way. See, this is the thing. Nigel does say some things that are true. He touches on subjects that are true, but then he embellishes, exaggerates, and then goes into his rhetorics. It's the old trope. It's just how it goes. Jesus wept if he becomes Prime Minister. I generally can't think of anything actually worse that could happen to this country if he was to become Prime Minister. I think it would be very, very likely that something to the extremes that Donald Trump has had to deal with the last 3 months on 2 separate occasions, I genuinely do believe that it would very likely have attempts at Nigel as well, which, again, do not condone. Do not condone whatsoever. Full condemnation for any kind of violence towards anyone just because they have a differing view of something that you have. Like, why that has to be said, I do not know, but apparently it's just the day and age that we live in. Jesus wept.